Good morning. Still morning. My name is Yusuf Abed. I work for Lawrence Livermore National Labs in California. I'm part of the Weapons Integration Group, which is part of the Weapons Integration Complex at Livermore. I want to thank you guys for inviting me to talk about Livermore's CMMS builder integration. I must say that after 18 months, it's really good to get out of my pajamas and talk to people. Okay, so here we go. So what you're seeing up here is the team that manages the builder and what we call Insight, which is the application and database environment that we do our CMMS integration in. Just to go through the names, Kevin Chen is a statistician, mathematician. Alan Ding is a front-end developer. Renelda Lechner-Strand, who's sitting right here, is our FIMS administrator. Some of you are familiar with FIMS, but we'll touch on that a little bit later. Brody Martinez is our infrastructure lifecycle analyst. And what you're going to see today is you're going to see some Power BI dashboards, and he's the person that's driving most of those. So, and then Angel Rodestang, who's a API developer. Now, I want to go back and say these are the developers that you're seeing here. Kevin, Alan, and Angel are actually full stack developers, which means that I can ask them to do anything that has to do with the framework, and they will be able to do it. So anyway, with that, before I go on, two other names that are not on this list of people is my manager, whose name is Cliff Shank, who's the director of weapons infrastructure and the Office of Laboratory Infrastructure. So the reason he's our benefactor and basically supports this group. So, and then the other person that's not on here is a gentleman by the name of Mark Azulam, who's our Fed oversight, and he's been a really good proponent of Livermore's implementation. So with that said, we can move on. So bottom line up front for the managers that just want one slide. There you go. We did CMMS integration in 2018. I know exactly when we did it because we were in Fort Collins at the time, and there's a story that goes behind that. But at the time, NNSA needed an efficient way to manage their builder instance. And their builder instance, we'll talk about where it's at and everything. And then the one thing that we recognized at Livermore was that things change. Everything's moving around you. You know, systems go, systems come, systems go. And so what we're trying to do, the Insight application is built on this basic tenet that everything will change and you need to adapt to that change. And so as we see the Insight features evolving, what we've done is we've leveraged these loose or soft data relationships. And we kind of make a running joke about it, which is we are loosely affiliated with data sources. Okay, so while we've got a level of extrapolation, plus we built a very powerful CMMS integration engine that sits on Digon's Spire API. So I call it a beast, and you'll see why further on down the road here. So why is NNSA using Builder? This is one slide. First of all, the people that are managing Builder at the NNSA level is Julie Krebs, and she's in charge of the program. She has an analyst by the name of Katrina Hernandez, and these two people are helping promote and implement the Builder in NNSA, okay? What you're seeing down on the bottom is my family of other Builder of the nuclear security enterprise. And so what you're looking at is you're seeing 4 design labs, 4 production facilities, and then another facility, another entity that's called the Office of Secure Transportation. And you can figure out what they do based on the title, right? Okay, so Livermore, Los Alamos, Nevada, Sandia, don't forget Sandia, are the and Pantex, well, our Pantex is Pantex, Y12, Savannah River are production facilities with Kansas City, by the way. So anyway, these are the families. And one thing about this implementation that we'll talk about a little bit is that these entities are helping each other. So it's not, you know, we're not competing. We're all in this together, and it's more like a family. So each one of these facilities is doing their own implementation. This is our implementation. uh, they may have made other decisions and made other choices, but this is what you're seeing today is Livermore. So a little bit about the scope of this effort. We're interested in condition and inventory, and we're kind of interested in assets, okay? So from an integration point of view, some of these acronyms I'm going to be using, we are EAM, Enforce EAM. So when I talk EAM, a master equipment list, when I say MEL, that's our master equipment list. That's contained in EAM. We have a condition assessment information system, or CASE, and that's an MA50, where there's a little subtlety here. They made the numbers the same. So NA52 is the infrastructure where Builder is done. MA is where the asset or FIMS and Ks are done. So there's two different areas. So our FIMS database, our facility management information system, and our Ks database are sponsored by MA50, whereas Builder is NA52. And the reason that makes a difference is the source of the data comes from a different place. So, and then the other thing is our Builder instance is at Oak Ridge National Laboratories in Tennessee. And so what you're seeing today was we're talking to Tennessee from here, okay? So some of our constraints, I call them constraints, or some people call them opportunities. In 2017 to 2019, Livermore was going through a transition. We were going away from a homegrown CMMS, and we were deploying and transitioning over to Enforce EAM. At the same time, NA52, which is Julie Krebs and that group, was saying thou shalt do CMMS integration. Well, how do you do a CMMS integration when your CMMS is moving? And so that was the grand challenge. We understood that. We also understood that we had a rapidly developing catalog. So we're going to talk a little bit about our catalog a little bit because it's kind of special. And so what we needed to be doing is we needed to be able to remap entire systems. And so what Renelda and I call this is moving furniture. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the process of remapping in Builder, but it's something like you delete the inventory, you add the inventory, and then you put back in the inspections. Anyway, this application does that. And we had to be, the solution had to be flexible enough to support an ever-changing environment and new sources as they come on. And we'll talk about a new source that just came up. And then the last one is my manager's bullet. My manager's a physicist, okay? He loves numbers. He absolutely loves math. And so one of his requirements is you have to be able to support complex analytics, and we'll start to see some of those analytics that we're supporting. So flexible, scalable, and configurable solution. That's what we were going for. Oh. Hang on. Okay, so we've taught the application, the inside application, a couple things. It runs in fully automated or it runs in batch, but it also understands how to detect retired inventory in EAM. Does that automatically. It can put delete records up on G2, which is the over in Oak Ridge. It can understands new inventory. It understands replaced inventory. But the big feature that it has this massive ability to bulk load, okay? And so bulk remappings are a big thing for us. And so why? Well, NSA has systems that are not commonly found in strip malls, okay? They're not, you don't go into strip malls and find a blast door. You don't go into strip malls and find a covered magazine, which is dirt. We actually have an 800-foot deep shaft that that goes into the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir aqueduct, and we pull water out of it. We also have things like drop towers and stuff like that. So we have very specific items. And that's why our catalog, if you will, in 2018, when we started this venture, there were a little less than 4,000 items in the catalog. Today, well, actually, we just got one yesterday, we have 10,000 items. So now, every time that we get a new catalog, Livermore rallies around that catalog, and what we're looking for is we're looking to improve our description of our inventory. And so what we'll do is we'll look at that catalog and we'll say, hey, this one makes better sense than this one. And so you have to be able to remap. And so that's why the remapping is so important. And we do that job. So some of the V&V stuff that we're doing, the application automatically knows when FIMS and Builder are not in sync in the building environment. So it automatically knows that. You'll see that in the application. I've set it up so you'll see it. And then it keeps, it determines, it can harvest case records automatically. So basically what we do is we go out, we look at the database, we look at the case data or condition, we go to the building table, and we fabricate condition records. So it does the translation between EAM and Builder. And we'll talk about that processing a little bit. We don't use rapid inspection. We don't use Bread. We haven't actually been in the application since 2018. Nobody at the lab logs onto it. It's all, we manage our entire Builder instance from this application. It keeps processing history since inception, which is 2018. So at any one time, I can go into the database, I can pull an equipment and know everything that we've ever done to it, which is really good. It automatically synchronizes our buildings. So our buildings, inventory, and condition. So at any one time, I can pull down I can refresh our tables. So it's a two-way street. We send data up and we get data back. Okay, and this is all through our integration. New feature that we're just doing is it keeps track of our history. So at any time that we replace we synchronize our tables, it then there's a compound trigger that then creates and populates our history tables. So we'll be able to keep track of all of the specifics about a piece of inventory or about a condition, all without touching it. Okay. So this is kind of the rules enforcement area, right? So we could run fully automated, and it could go from bang, bang. It could go all the way through without looking at it. However, in order for data to become information, it has to be good data. And so what we have to do is we feel, and this is our choice, we feel that we have to stop the data, verify it before it goes in. Just because we can automate it and throw it over the fence does not mean that we should do that. So we stop all of our processing, and in some instances, like our syncing is automated, but in the majority of it, we post a record, we verify it, okay? The building inventory is flat. What this is all about is we have one section detail. The section name is named the same as the equipment ID or the detail. We're joined like that because that's how our MEL is mapped. And so the integration becomes much easier if you do that rather than if you have a section and multiple details under it, okay? So we've done that. We made that choice. Other people haven't. We made that choice, okay? The people that are running EAM know nothing about Builder. They don't assign equipment ID, CMCs. They know nothing. They don't even have any idea where it is. And so what we do is we stop it. We assign the catalog. You're going to see in the application how we do that. And basically what we've got is a pretty cool way of doing it, okay? And so, our subject matter experts are the ones that assign the catalog. So we make sure that we achieve the best possible fit for that piece of inventory. The processing tables are archived weekly and they go back to 2018. So basically that's pretty straightforward. This other bullet down here, this second to last bullet, is a really important bullet for us. And so what this is called R&D modeling. We do experiments with our data. So we have something called, so what we do is we have this R&D modeling group. And what their whole purpose is to study Builder in infrastructure data. It's part of our science-based infrastructure initiative. So we study this data, and so what we do is we pull the data down and we look at it, we compare it to other data that the lab has. For 30 years, the lab has been keeping track of survival lives of inventory. And so we have a really good understanding of our survival curves and survival lives. And so what this R&D modeling group does is it uses the Builder data, and you'll start to see some modeling that goes on. We also use this R&D modeling group for any major lifts in the database. We get a new source, we'll run it through an instance rather than just running it through production. What we'll do is we'll study it. It's a lab. We study things, guys. Okay. So it's really good. The delete APIs. This is me, by the way. The delete APIs are manual and they're tightly held. particularly one that we've just developed that is only in our integration environment. And guess what that API is? Anybody know? It would be the delete building API. Okay. Because if you delete a building, you cascade through everything. And so we'll talk a little bit about where that API is going and how we're using it. But for right now, just to understand that. Okay. So this is kind of the flow of insight. So what we do is we filter it. We basically look and it's smart enough to know that it looks for the data, grabs the inventory out of EAM. We've exposed that. And then what it does is I call it herding. Basically herds it into one area. And then what it does is translates it. And basically, I'm going to get a little technical here, but what we do is we grab the data out of EAM, we configure it for Builder, we put it into a REST call that's serialized JSON, we send that package in a request message to Digon. Digon then sends a return message back, which is the API return message. We store that message. And then our messages are combined together. So if I have a request and I get a return, they're mapped together with a foreign key. And so you'll see in the database where what you can do is you can send a record to Digon, who then does it to Builder, comes back, you understand what happened in that request. And then what you can do is you can then evaluate that. Did I get the right stuff back? The other thing that we do is every time you run it, you get another return message. So you may be able to run it 2 or 3 times. And you'll get all of the return messages that are related to that foreign key. So it's kind of a cool thing. And then we verify the transaction, which I just talked about, and that's called success. Now what I'm going to do is demo the application for you real quick. Am I on time? I'm good? Good. I'm probably talking too fast, but you read this for a minute. If you look on the left, you could read our mission. It's kind of cool. So I'll let you guys read. Can you everybody see that? Rather than me read it to you, you probably want to do that. Okay. So I'll just run it from up here. So what you're looking at is you're looking at buildings, inventory, inspections, analytics, and operations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left to right. So the first thing we're going to look at is buildings. And this is a relatively new API for us. Okay. And I don't know if you can see this, but what this is what you're looking at right now is the contents of what we call a post table. What these are is our requests. And you can see that from the left-hand side, the action is an update. Okay. So the only thing we do here is we can create new buildings and we can update an existing building. You won't see a delete in this table. Okay. And so what ends up happening is, I don't know if you can see the subtlety here, but if you go over to here, and you click on that, what you're seeing is that the evaluation of FIMS, okay, what's in FIMS, can you see it? I see a guy squinting over here. Are you okay? Okay, here, let me see if I can get it better here. Let me see. Better? That was is that the international signal for I can't see? Thank you. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing that the application is evaluating the FIM speed and saying, hey, we think the number of floors is wrong. Okay. And so it's doing that automatically. We don't have to deal with it. And then what I can do is I can say, hey, use the FIMS value. Okay. Now you see it's highlighted as yellow. That means that something has changed. Okay. If I want to send this through, it's already been processed, by the way. So you can see that I've already sent it through once before, right? So you see the 200 success here. If I go over here and I click on that, up will come the return message that I'm getting back from Digon. Okay, but for now, that's done. And all I do is process it. To process it, I flip it, and that turns to ready. And what'll end up happening if we had automated this and I stored this, the job would come back, pick it up, and send it to Builder in Oak Ridge. Okay. So make sense to everybody? Sorry, everybody's all quiet. I don't know. I hope I'm not scaring you. Here's our inventory. Looks very similar, right? Operates the same way. Hey, there's deletes here. Absolutely. So we've added this. I had Alan add this for me. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing adds and deletes. What this is a replace. In a replace, what happens is the database senses that the install date in Mel changed. And automatically it says, it changed. That means it's a new record. We've got a new date on it. You can see here, right up here, you can see the 21. So you see all the old dates and you see 21. That means that, hey, it's a replace. And so that's really easy for us to do because what we do is we process the delete and then we process the replace. However, what happens if it's not the same, right? So now our challenge with CMMS, with our EAM, is that it's not a level 5. It doesn't understand about the catalog. However, what it has is it has attributes, and I'm not going to bore you with the technical piece because it's a real pain in them. Okay? But what it is you have to transfer, you have to go through master to detail and then create what we call the MEL attribute. And so the database does that automatically, can do that. And so what we do is if you look at if you go to the create, which one should I pick, Ronaldo? This one okay? Sure. Okay, and I scroll down. Oh, maybe it's the wrong one. Let's pick another one, better one. Where's the chiller? Right here? That's the chiller? Okay, there you go. Yeah, see the comments there? What we're doing is we're navigating through EAM and EAM structure. And what we're doing is we're populating that comment field with how we can evaluate it to be a catalog like, so that a subject matter expert can come in and look at this and go, oh, it's a 3-ton chiller, same as same. We'll go, or it's different. Maybe I have to look up. Let's say, for instance, it's different, and the SME wants to then go and mess with it, right? Wants to change it. And so let's go, where'd that chiller go? Right here? Anyone? Okay. So here's what we call CMC. You'll see there's a little mark there. And now what's going on here is it's going to the catalog, but it's not just going to the catalog, guys. What it's going to Livermore's implementation of Builder, and it's finding what we have what makes sense within that catalog. So it's finding like inventory and then displaying the options you have on the level 5. So in fact, the comp type thing comes up, and we're really interested in design, service life, unit cost, and EA and unit of measure. And so what happens is a subject matter expert can then go, I don't have to go and navigate all the way down the tree. It's going to take me directly to what I've been using. Now, we do not stop the people from going up the tree too high because you can't do that. But that's the one above it. That's alarm. This one. Okay. It's hard to steer from here. Okay. There. Yeah. So those are like things that we could pick from this list. Okay. So that's an example. So it's kind of a smart catalog lookup. Okay. If I picked it, then basically what I do now, the other thing that we have available to us, and I call this is Ronaldo's functionality, by the way. I put this in for her because she wanted it. I didn't want it. So if I go like this, and only Ronaldo can do this, by the way. Not everybody can do this. Flip all. What that did is it just flipped everybody to ready. And now if I left this thing alone, the deletes wouldn't go because the deletes are always manual. But the creates would fire off. The job would start up, fire off, and it would go and find every single one of those and send it off to Builder. Okay. So that's a thing. So, and we built in a whole bunch of smarts about the edits and stuff. When you say apply edits, one of the things I did was I said, well, we have to make sure. So we're going to nag you to death that you have, you're trying to do 100. So it's all within the search. So if you had 5,000 records in this table and you searched all of them, you could flip all of them to ready and send them out, and it would process them. So the most we've ever done was 80,000 records. But anyway. So inspections looks the same. With there's two caveats here. One caveat here is that, so you see the create here. So one of the things we wanted to be able to do is change that create, transform that create to an update. So what it'll do is, sorry about this, it's hard for me to steer here. And now I just changed it to an update. If I then went over here and I said, hey, I want to send this on its way. How come I can't see anything over here? So if I then flipped it to ready, what it would end up happening is it would be picked up and run. Okay. You'll notice that this kind of leads me into synthetic. Well, we'll talk about synthetics here in a minute. So let's talk about. Where's my mouse? Did I lose my mouse? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to the operations page really quick. It's okay to move forward. Yeah, if you want to move forward, please don't hesitate. Okay, come on up. So what you do here is you go sign in, and then what's going to end up happening is going to prompt me for my credentials. Well, it doesn't, but anyway. So what this is an embedded Power BI. Okay, and so what this is giving us is this operations page is for the big system people like Renelda, and there's some other ones, some other people in there that go out and they basically want to run the API without waiting for the job to run. And so the API playground allows you to run any of the endpoints. Okay, so we can run them by hand. Example, right? We want to go get a token. We just got a token from Oak Ridge. That's the token right there. So it comes back. So any of those endpoints can be run. We can also run a manual refresh from buildings, inventory, and condition. The refreshes take us for buildings, it'll take us about 20 minutes to refresh our 640 buildings. It takes us about an hour and 15 minutes to do the inventory, which is, by the way, if you look at this dashboard, it's 39,000 records. So we'll refresh 39,000 records in about an hour and 15 minutes. We'll do the 50,000 records of condition. Now it's broken, but it does go fast in integration. Integration does it in about an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so we can be round trip, and since it's multi-threaded, I can run all three of them at the same time. So okay. Tells us a bunch of stuff about, so the only thing I want to tell you a little bit about is you see the training environment and the integration environment. We have 3 environments that have builder data in it: production, training, and integration. Okay, they're fully populated. We also have 2 additional ones that reside over in Fort Collins. And so our developers, we developers are over in our Fort Collins stuff doing a development. And then what they'll do is they'll swing into integration and training to do bulk testing. So live bulk testing. So what we really use these 2 other environments for, the training and the integration, you'll see training CE and training heartbeat. Okay, I'm sorry, integration heartbeat. So what we do is we take those 2 environments and we do experiments on them. And so right now I've loaded the training. The CE has the condition in cost engine experiment, which we'll talk about in the analytics, is sitting in the training environment. And the integration has our heartbeats. What are heartbeats? So let's talk about heartbeats first. Okay, so what we can do is we can physically change those environments to put in data so that we can study the data. Okay, so let's go to analytics. Right. All these environments are available to all the NNSA sites. So I'm not sure if you guys know this, but what our builder instance does is its sole purpose in life is to produce RPV, deferred maintenance, and repair needs. 3 things. And so what this dashboard is showing you is last year in 2019 compared to 27-26. Okay, and so this is as of what is today? Yesterday. As of yesterday, this is what you're looking at is a drift. Okay, between our end of year last year and where we're currently at this year. At the end of this year, October, we will be required to push up to FIMS, and those numbers need to be good. And so every time we make a big muscle movement in the database, we run this again. Now, these Power BIs are not only embedded in the application, and you can see that, by the way, you'll see these guys right here. We put this feature in, it's really cool. So what I want to do is I want to maybe add a new Power BI. And so what I can do is I can put the name of the Power BI in, and then I can do the embedded link that I got from Power BI, put it into the thing, and then all of a sudden it works, okay? Without redeploying the application, which is really cool. Thank you, Angel. Okay, so this guy right here is monitoring our movements. And so we're really interested in this, and that's why it's right here on the front page, is we're always looking at this. Now, not only are we embedding the API, but what we're also doing is this data is coming from our database, okay? It's data in our database, in the Insight database, which we lovingly refer to as the Insight Data Lounge. We'll talk a little bit about the Data Lounge in a minute. So another one we have that I want to talk to you about is our heartbeat comparison dashboard. This dashboard, so what we had is, you remember that first thing I said, well, things change and we get new sources? Well, we got a new source. EAM has this thing called a heartbeat. And so what heartbeats are all about is they're all about, the person goes out there, looks at it, does a PM and says, hey, I think it's this, I think it's this. And so they have three things they do it. It's good, medium, bad, right? Good, average, bad. And so what we do is we do the transformations. And what we did was it's about 17,000 heartbeats went into this experiment. We want to know what those 17,000 heartbeats conditions are going to do to our population before we go off and pull the trigger in our database, on our production environment. And so what this is going to do, what this is doing is showing you that our RPV is going to change. It's going to go down, right? Our DM is going to go down. Our RN is going to go down. And then we want to look at the BCI, how it affected our BCI, okay? And so our analysts, our R&D modeling guys, are looking at this data and going, okay, Yusuf, if you do this, if you do this, this is what's going to end up happening, okay? And so what we do is we come to a consensus, and the consensus was on this, by the way. We'll get a live feed from EAM, and we will set up an automation, and this will happen automatically. So, but this brings us to another topic real quick here, and this is the minimum system experiment. So Livermore has been chasing DM and RN. So everything about our inventory that we harvest from EAM is all about DM and RN, because that's what we do. But we don't keep track of foundations. We don't keep track of A20s, which are superstructures. Renella's going to help me with the terminology. The B10s, which are superstructures, I think. And then the C30s are coverings, finishes. Okay. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to add these systems to the instance. And so we wanted to see the effect they would have on our BCI. Everybody's interested in BCI, right? And so what we did was we said, okay, we'll run this experiment. We'll put A10s in. Well, first of all, we'll take a snap, do a report, put A10s in, do the reports, take the A10s out, put the B10s in. You see where I'm going with this? And then each step, what we did was we took a snap. Then what this dashboard does is it does the comparisons. What would it be like if we were to put A10s in, A20s in, B10s in individually? Then the other one we wanted to do, what happens if we added A10s, B10s? So what this will do, oh, and by the way, down here on the bottom, we're evaluating it by RPV, weighted RPV, MDI. Now, we didn't talk about MDI, but MDI is a way for us, for NNSA, to understand which facilities are important to the mission. And so they have an MDI score. And that MDI score is in our calculations in Builder, because we want to be working on things that make sense, right? That support our mission. We don't, a guard shack is not as important as the National Ignition Facility, 581. Real familiar with that. So we want to make sure that. So we're looking at the BCI versus MDI. We're looking at the BCI over age, okay? And so if we want to, we can say, I'm interested in A10s. So let's go over to A10s. Let's click on A10s. Now that's A10s. Let's click on site 200. We have two sites. Site 200, which is the main 1 square mile, of Livermore. And then we have something called Site 300, which is up in the mountains, out in the middle of nowhere with all the snakes. We do really good things up there. But anyway. Okay. What did I do wrong? Come on. Oh, I know what I'm doing wrong. Sorry. So what this chart is telling us is looking at the difference on foundations only and how it would work, how it would look. So that what the orange is representing is the ups and downs of the BCI if I added just the A10s in. Okay. Now, if you went over here and you said, "Hey, I'm actually interested in let me look at by age." Right? So let's go down here and by age. You can see you clicked on by age and you did the same thing. Sorry, Brody. I know you're sitting there going, Yusuf, I could do a better job than this. Okay, now you're looking at it differently by age. What you're saying is, okay, so the older buildings, your RPB is, your BCI is going down based on it. And your newer buildings are getting the benefit of the foundations. So anyway, so these are the types of things that you can do with the data that sits underneath you. Okay. So, and then of course you can look at specific systems. I'll quickly do this one. We've got a ton of these. So this is an early one, and this is just looking at our roofs. Okay. So anyway, with that said, does anybody have any questions about the application, or we're all understood? Yes. Everybody's quiet. I'm sorry.
Two comments. Number one, wow. Number two, you mentioned Spire here in terms of, and I guess when you use the term Diagon, you mean Spire.
Diagon Spire, yeah.
So can you briefly describe the relationship? I came in a little bit late, so I think I remember back from previous things that NNSA had multiple disparate CMMSs that led you to make a decision to use a middleware solution for data integration, and yet you wanted to still use the Spire tool for translation to Builder. I don't know if you said that already, but I think I remember that from past demos. Can you explain kind of the relationship between the Insight app, the Spire app, and Builder data translation? Thank you.
Okay, so each one of the MNOs, that would be the design labs and the people that the entities that I told you about in the NSE, the enterprise, have their own CMMS. Some of them use Maximo, some of them use Asset View, some of them use Fleet, and each one of them is required to do the CMMS integration to those systems. We happen to have EAM. But since we have a loose relationship with data, right? We're not tied to EAM. EAM could go away, and they could find, they can go to Asset View, and literally when they moved from our homegrown to our new EAM, it was less than 3 days, and we had the integration done. Okay, less than 3 days. Okay, so that's how you build systems that insulate yourself from change. Change is good. Don't get me wrong. I love change. Okay. I just don't. I want to make sure I can handle the change quickly because nobody has anything. Okay. So that answer the question? So
the use of Spire, then why do you have that at all?
Because there's no relationship between EAM directly and Builder. If I wanted to, different choice. If I wanted to do my CMMS integration and I said, hey, I know EAM's cool, it's the best. So I'm going to embed the calls into EAM, and EAM is going to call Builder. Okay, we could have done that, but we didn't. The reason we didn't do it was changing. We knew we wanted an infrastructure repository to drive the analytics, and also we wanted to be able to flip between systems. And we built it outside of EAM. So it's a choice. Asset view goes direct.
Why didn't you go to the builder API directly? Why didn't you use Fire? Wasn't it?
For us, what we wanted to do, we wanted the batch ability. We wanted to be able to run our own show. So for instance, like that, I talked about a little bit about the builder delete building API that we built out. We take advantage of that. The only place it exists is in integration, and the only place it's going to be doing is we want to be able to recover our database from Livermore. If something happens to our G2 instance and we lose it, and that happens, okay, we want to be able to recover that database right away. The other thing we want to do is we want to do out of cycle refreshes. That's really what we want. Because what we'll do is we'll tear that integration environment up, because we can create synthetics like no other. And we talk about a little bit, maybe synthetics is a little advanced for this group, but the bottom line is synthetics are not existing in MEL, but are the EAM, the CEs that we put in there are synthetics. How we did that was we grabbed the cost model engine. We have a cost engine that creates has a report, and it creates the systems and the inventory, and it does a very complex swap. And what we did was we used that report to create synthetics that we didn't have. And so those synthetics then were calculated into Insight, and then Insight produced the synthetics into a builder. And so we can manage those synthetics. Example is we can't age base, right, in our inspections, in our order. And so we have to have inspections. Well, our K's tool only does deficiencies. Okay, so what we built, and my manager hates when I say this, we built a crawler. We've had 3 crawlers. Basically what a crawler is, it'll crawl through the buildings, grab the building, go to K's, grab the inspections, then find out the ones that are missing, and then based on an algorithm, and that algorithm's quite a little bit complex right now. Basically, used to be, hey, everything's amber, right? That was the easy days, right? Everything's amber. If it's not in there, it's amber. And then before that, it was let's bucket them based on remaining service lives, RSL. And then the newest one, the one I wrote last year, is more based on analytics that we did on the curve. And so what it does is it buckets them based on an algorithm that adds 1.54 to the CI. Okay. And so basically, there's those crawlers that we've created. And what that is, Ronaldo and I call that paving it over, right? And so now those synthetics, we're going away from those synthetics because we've got these heartbeats now. We're probably going to go to those heartbeats, and you'll see the crawlers kind of going away. But since we have the ability to do that, we do that on purpose. Okay? So I'm sorry, I'm probably, okay. So a couple things I want to talk about before I leave you. I know I'm probably too technical. That's what they say. Okay, so our front end is it's Angular, Node.js, and our back end, our API our back end is Play and Oracle, and then our IDEs are IntelliJ, Postman, and our tools are Toad, and then Jenkins to do the builds. If anybody's into that kind of stuff. So basically, we're an Oracle shop, guys. Okay, so. Oh, and so we'll talk about that. So this kind of gives you a picture of what the database looks like, okay? Kind of high level. And you'll see that on the left, you see EAM's null, and okay. You did notice that we didn't have work orders, right? Who noticed there were no work orders on our API? There you go, good call. No work orders, why? Well, NNSA is using the scenarios to generate their DM, their RN, and the RPV. Deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance.
And
repair needs, RN. Okay. Okay. Take a picture. What's that? RPV is calculated by the cost engine that RS Means has created for us. And basically what that engine does is it looks at their, I'm not the coder on that, the RS Means code, right? But basically what that is you'll see, we go back to those models. The model is attached right now to the zip code. RS Means pulls it out of the zip code, puts it into their cost engine. And then what it does is a very complicated swap. It looks at our inventory, then it looks at what it thinks should be in the inventory, and then does swapping. Okay. That's one of the reasons why we took our foundations out originally, is because back in one of my first tasks was to put in foundations. And I did 400 and something foundations. It took me 3 months, dude. 3 months to get those in. And it was terrible. And so I said, I really need to create a tool. So what'll end up happening is they swap, and then that's how it's done. The actual logistics, the actual details, you're probably gonna have to talk to RS Means about. But it's a complicated application that runs on the weekend, and it does this complicated swap. But at the end of the day, it calculates our RPD.
What?
Yeah, the K's tool. No. Good try though. No. They're deficient, so they don't have everything in it. Yeah.
The NSA RPD engine, really exciting because people talk about their model as square footage code, but not all labs are the same. Some are higher intensity labs. So because Builder has a very detailed equipment list of what's in that facility, it can escalate the RPD of that facility because it sees the sections in that building. So it looks at what's in your Builder environment, says, okay, great, I'm gonna use this to inform what is the new RPD. And if you don't have stuff in Builder, but it's in the model, it'll add it. So it's a little bit more refined, dynamic RPD versus a one-time snapshot.
Yeah, and we use that on our synthetics on the CE test. We used that report that came out to fabricate those synthetics, so we didn't have to do it. It was kind of cool.
And our schemes uses Spire, the same integration engine, to check every weekend. Have you changed inventory? Maybe your RPD also needs to change.
Yeah.
So it's constantly updating based on a live feed of data.
And so how we help with that solution is that you saw those comparison dashboards, that dashboard feeds off of scenarios that are loaded into our database. We're someday going to get an API that loads those automatically. Okay. As soon as Cyril fixes it, right? And then we won't, that'll be an automated thing. I'll talk a little bit about what's automated, what's manual in our environment. But to continue, those comparison dashboards are really quick. We can do that in about a couple hours. And then we can compare what the cost engine says is supposed to happen with what our reality is. And so we're using that a lot. Yes.
Not sure I followed everything, but did I hear correctly that the system is generating the ratings for all the components and no physical assessments are occurring?
No, physical assessments are occurring. They're occurring in the case system. All we're doing is harvesting those assessments.
So the assessments are not directly being put into Builder?
No, they are. The application is doing it. We don't do it. I don't do it. Ronaldo doesn't do it. The inspectors are going out and inspecting and finding a case deficiency. They put the case deficiency in the case database. The application, the inside application goes and harvests that, converts it to Builder, and then sends it to Spire to update Builder without anybody knowing. Wow. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't. Right.
There's Mike, like,
There was no, we did not have the ability to change our business processes. So that was one of our constraints. Everything had to be done. You know, we use a database to manage a database. Okay. Not such a bad concept. Yes.
Sir, I heard you say that there was a decision made to go down to the section level with just one detail. You don't have sections with multiple details.
Yes.
Is that a requirement of the integration process through Spire?
No, it's not. It should be, but no, it's not. That's just my opinion, by the way. I made that decision, by the way.
Okay.
And I made that decision based on Digon's early. We were an early adopter. Okay, we were the first, and so you know it's not easy being the first because you got to make these decisions by yourself. And so I made that decision. But one of the reasons I made that decision was, and I'm getting off topic here, and I apologize, but we had an audit that didn't go, and this had nothing to do with Builder, by the way, guys. We had an audit that didn't go well. And so the reason it didn't go well was we had this kind of relationship where you had a bundle of inventory. And so everybody treated the bundle as being inspected. But in fact, two of the pieces in the bundle didn't get inspected because you keep the inspection flag hit up on the top. And so when the auditors came in, they're going, okay, show me inspection for all 5 of these things in the bundle. And we only showed them 3. And that kind of scared me. It was like, oh, if I go on if I roll up on a section, I have multiple details. What happens if I miss one? You know? So that kind of helped me make that decision. Huh? Or if they're different ages too, that's a problem too. So our implementation, it simplified the implementation immensely. If I was to tell you something about, do that. Because now, even the API doesn't understand the counts. And then, of course, if you have 10 power poles, let's say, Y12 does a lot of power poles. Good friend of mine. He was just retired. But anyway, they do power poles. If you get one different age in a power pole, he's got to come out and be his own section, right? What's that?
Because this was built from scratch, did you have to meet NIST requirements?
I don't understand you.
NIST, N-I-S-T, NIST requirement.
No,
No? Because you guys are independent?
we built it.
Are you glad you're using Jesus?
What's that?
Are you glad you're using Jesus? You can actually try to share it.
Yeah, I can, I'm a computer scientist, guys, so I want to talk a little bit about this slide here before I move on. You see the bottom spot, you see the post tables and the return tables and the Spire API and Spire Web Services. See right over here, right? These guys right here. That's the engine. That's the beast. Okay, those tables and that service. Just recently, we separated the two out. And so the idea was that we didn't want the Insight application. The Insight application uses Insight stuff, so the UI and all that stuff uses that. And what we did was we took that Spire service and we made it its own service. And so Insight has a service, Spire has a service, and that's so that we could spin it off. Okay, so it's spinnable now, which was a big deal, big refactor for us. And the team, the developers did a wonderful job, on that release. But you see the transformation tables. This is kind of Renelva's area, and that's the smarts in the database that tells us what goes into Builder. Not everything in Mel goes into Builder. Okay, and so we can configure those transformations to include inventory that we want to see. So like if we have a need, we can do that. Provided it's in Mel. I can't do anything if it's not in Mel, except create synthetics. This is our data lounge, and this will kind of give you an idea of where the little guy is the manual refresh. In other words, manual intervention. And so you see G2 is the Oak Ridge National Laboratories where all of the NNSA stuff is held. And that is all manual. It's outside of our control. There's no Spire API to it. It'll always be manual until they decide that they open it up to us. The catalog and the scenario reports, Kurt has promised me the scenario reports will be fixed and I'll be able to integrate with that. The catalog only happens every 3 months. And so it's not a big deal for us. We just manually put it in. If that frequency increases, everything else is live. We have a live FIMS view. It's snapped every day. Okay, so MA50 snaps our FIMS view. That was a really big deal. That was what made me write made us write the building API, was because we now had FIMS and we could then compare the two together and keep Builder in sync. NNSA is doing that for us as well. Julie's doing a really good job with that, but we want to make sure that we have something that tells us right away. And so condition assessment, same thing, snap twice a day, I think. And then, of course, Sunflower is our property system. That's live. EAM is live. Obviously, Insight with the refresh process. Many sources, one repository. Okay. This is our environment. Kind of gives you where all of our stuff is. Basically, the database. You guys aren't probably, this is too much for you guys. So anyway, sorry. Sorry, but this is our environment. Okay. Sorry about that. I didn't mean to talk down at you, but so it's okay. It makes your head. This makes our head hurt too. So anyway, I just wanted to show you where everything was. I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. This is a slide I lifted from our National Academy of Science presentation. So we were able to do a science-based infrastructure academy talk. And so this is how Insight fits into Livermore's environment. And so what you're seeing here is you're seeing FEMS, you're seeing system condition, master life cost data. So cost lab, which is not builder, building EDADS is where we keep our programmatic and personal equipment. You guys are into that kind of stuff. And then of course, on the right side is our enterprise, our mission dependency index, our catalog functionality, which is now LOB. We're moving towards functionality if we can get that right. And then RPV cost models, which come from the engine. And then on the bottom, you can see that's our evolution of our effort. And so, you know, and with that, that's the team. Any questions? Any more questions? Too fast, too slow, too technical? Sorry, I have a tendency to be.
So there's a question online. Is how do you translate a case to a just direct rating for stress surface?
They're all direct ratings in Ks. So, and we do that in our transformation tables. Actually, no, we do that in the crawler. So the algorithm in the crawler does that. So.
That was Peter. He registered as a guest and didn't put his full name in, but it sounds like he might be Department of Energy. So the question was, so when in case it aligns to a direct rating in your crawler.
No. We did the translation, and the crawler does the translation in the case.
Okay.
It creates the record that then gets put into the post table that then gets pushed off to builder.
And John Glass wants you to repeat the entire presentation at half speed. I know it's a joke, but we did record everything. So this session has been recorded. So you can hit pause and the slides are always going to be posted.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to slow down. I should have taken some Valium or something. But so stuff that's coming up for us, there's a new API actually that's been produced that'll do the remap for you. And so it's a one-call API. We're doing that. We're looking at more of a comparison. I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Sure.
Would you please go over what you said about functionality real quick again?
Okay. So the laboratory uses something called, the NNSA uses something called LOB. And it's thank you.
The Department of Energy, the Department of Energy has 17 national labs throughout the entire complex. And because we are a national lab, we comply with what they call the Laboratory Operations Board, which has metrics in it to basically help compare the national labs against each other because they are a national lab. So what NNSA is wanting is for any of the national labs to go, or their entire enterprise to go away from the LOB metrics to more of a functionality based, which is what.
And so with the builder functionality, we've had 3 attempts at going to functionality, and everybody gets and everybody gets, inventory. But when you start talking about functionality, is the asset meeting the mission? Does it have the right space? Is it capacity? All of those things are a different way of thinking. And it's taken us a couple starts to think that way. We are involved, Livermore and Savannah River are involved in another trial of functionality. We think we have it. We don't want a bunch of questions. We just want a few, enough to get us through the day. And so we're hoping that next year we'll have something to show for functionality. So, yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for putting up with my speed and the talk. And again, I apologize if I offended anybody on the question. Okay. So, okay, thank you.